February 3rd, 2026, London. At exactly 8:30 a.m. GMT, Buckingham Palace released a statement that instantly sent shockwaves through the United Kingdom, the United States, and the wider Commonwealth. In a move without precedent in modern royal history, King Charles III formally stripped Prince Harry of all remaining royal titles, military appointments, honorary affiliations, and public privileges, effective immediately. The announcement was short, cold, absolute, and it marked the final collapse of a relationship that had been deteriorating behind palace walls for years. According to the official statement, the decision followed the confirmation that U.S. federal authorities had seized digital evidence and financial records from the Sussex residence in Montecito, California, under a sealed search warrant executed on January 31st. The investigation, confirmed by allied law enforcement agencies, centers on wire fraud, false statements, and potential misuse of charitable funds. Moments after the statement was released, a palace spokesperson read aloud a section of what is now known as the Windsor Reformation Directive, Article 7, personally signed by the King. The wording was unmistakable. In light of verified findings by allied law enforcement agencies and substantiated breaches of public trust, I hereby revoke, in full and without future reinstatement, all royal titles, military affiliations, and honorary privileges previously extended to my son, Prince Henry Charles Albert David. The order had already been reviewed, endorsed, and countersigned by the Privy Council, the Lord Chamberlain, and the Keeper of the Royal Archives. This was not a symbolic rebuke. It was a constitutional severance. What triggered the decision? Sources familiar with the investigation confirm that the inquiry began quietly in late October 2025 after an encrypted whistleblower file was submitted through Interpol's UK liaison office. That file raised three major red flags. First, investigators allege the unauthorized transfer of more than $4.8 million from a charitable foundation linked to Prince Harry into private consulting entities associated with Meghan Markle's commercial team. Second, authorities identified the presence of a private encrypted server inside the Montecito property, allegedly used to store donor communications, identity verification documents, and foreign correspondence that had not been disclosed to either U.S. or U.K. charity regulators. Third, and perhaps most damaging, investigators flagged the alleged forging of donor acknowledgements, including one signature belonging to a deceased British veteran, reportedly used to promote a 2023 Invictus-related fundraising campaign. According to sources briefed on the findings, this single allegation alone caused severe institutional alarm inside the palace. Princess Anne steps in. Within hours of the palace announcement, Princess Anne, acting in her official capacity as constable of the royal household, convened a rare emergency press conference from St. James's Palace. Her words left no room for interpretation. This is not a quiet removal. This is a constitutional and reputational response. The monarchy will not tolerate the concealment of fraud, the distortion of military service for profit, or the unauthorized use of the crown's symbolic weight for personal enrichment. She continued, "We choose national honor over familial silence." According to multiple sources, Princess Anne had already requested a special review by the UK Charity Commission in November 2025, after internal alarms were raised over a delayed grant to a Commonwealth veterans organization. That review quietly expanded into a joint inquiry involving American regulators. Prince William breaks his silence. Shortly after Anne's remarks, Prince William, speaking as Prince of Wales and institutional heir, issued a brief but deliberate statement. "No one is above the values of duty, transparency, and service," he said. "My father's decision is absolute. It is my responsibility to defend those standards, even when the cost is personal." Behind the scenes, sources confirm that William played a central role in coordinating intelligence sharing between the palace's Legal Integrity Office and the Metropolitan Police Unit's Financial Crimes Unit, resulting in a cross-jurisdictional memorandum delivered to U.S. authorities in December 2025. That memo's existence has now been confirmed by Whitehall officials. A clean break, public and final. Unlike previous royal controversies that were managed quietly, this escalation was deliberate, public, and procedurally transparent. Within hours, the official royal website removed all references to Prince Harry's former titles, patronages, and military honors. The court circular now lists him simply as Henry Mountbatten Windsor. No titles, no styling, no institutional role. Among the revoked positions, Honorary Air Commandant of RAF Honington, Captain General of the Royal Marines, Patron of the Rugby Football League, all Commonwealth Trust ambassadorial roles. By 10 a.m. on February 1, 2026, the situation escalated again. The Royal Communications Office released a synchronized statement alongside American authorities, confirming that a classified summary of evidence seized from Prince Harry's California residence had been formally shared with the British government. This was no longer a palace matter. It was now a cross-border legal and security issue. According to the joint briefing, the evidence collected during the Montecito search formed the foundation for King Charles's final decree, signed days later, stripping Prince Harry of all remaining titles, privileges, and hereditary claims. What followed was the most detailed disclosure yet. 3 categories of misconduct. Investigators identified 3 primary categories of alleged misconduct. The first involved the fraudulent misuse of royal trademarks. Digital correspondence recovered from encrypted devices showed Prince Harry had personally approved the use of royal insignia, crest imagery, and Duke of Sussex styling in a commercial agreement with a Dubai-based company. The contract, signed in November 2025, promoted a multi-million-dollar content licensing deal under the false implication of official royal endorsement. According to investigators, this violated both British and international intellectual property protections tied to the crown. Undeclared financial transfers. The second category involved undeclared financial transfers and offshore routing. Federal investigators uncovered 8 separate wire transfers, totaling approximately $38 million, routed through intermediaries in the Cayman Islands, Singapore, and Abu Dhabi between February and October 2025. These funds were allegedly linked to real estate acquisitions in California and Qatar. None of the transfers were disclosed under the mandatory reporting requirements tied to Prince Harry's dual tax obligations as a UK citizen residing in the United States. Authorities also flagged the use of shell companies with royal-themed names, including entities designed to obscure asset ownership and shield income streams. This alone triggered parallel inquiries by the U.S. Internal Revenue Service and the Department of Justice. Custody and travel irregularities. The third category raised alarms far beyond finance. Files recovered from the seized devices were labeled with internal references to custodial and travel overrides.
Documents titled Archie Protocol Final and Lilibet Travel Override indicated attempts to bypass custodial monitoring provisions established under the Windsor Accord of 2024. Investigators allege these documents included backdated affidavits, misattributing citizenship status in order to obtain diplomatic protections not legally applicable. U.S. immigration officials later confirmed discrepancies in passport application data, particularly concerning Lilibet's records. At this point, the palace moved from damage control to institutional defense. Princess Anne addresses the findings. Standing in the White Drawing Room at St. James's Palace, Princess Anne addressed the findings directly. "The House of Windsor does not condone corruption under any title," she said. "What has been uncovered represents a betrayal not only of legal norms but of the dignity of the crown." She made clear that the monarchy would act as a firewall, not a shield. Later that day, Prince William appeared at the Queen Elizabeth II Conference Center. His statement was short, scripted, and deliberate. "What began as compassion has been repaid with deception," he said. "My brother violated the laws of the countries he lives in and dishonored the institution he was born into. We stand with the public, not above them." Behind the scenes, British prosecutors formally notified the palace of their intent to investigate under the Proceeds of Crime Act, while U.S. authorities advanced their own inquiries. A sealed indictment was forwarded to the United States Attorney's Office for Central California. By February 7th, King Charles signed Royal Order D-226. The order did not hedge. It terminated recognition of the Duke of Sussex title, removed all HRH references from international registers, disqualified Prince Harry from the line of succession, voided every ceremonial, diplomatic, and military appointment, instructed all crown estates to sever fiduciary connections immediately. The final clause read, "Henceforth he shall be recognized neither in title nor in duty as a representative of the crown or its historic lineage." This marked the first full public severance of a senior royal in the modern constitutional era. No exile, no ambiguity, no sealed proceedings, just removal. National security enters the equation. Then came the moment that changed everything. At 11 a.m. on February 2nd, senior UK national security officials met with the royal household inside the Cabinet Office briefing rooms, known as COBR. Present were the Home Secretary, the Director of GCHQ, the head of MI5, and representatives from Royal Household Security. The briefing classified material recovered in California as security relevant and institutionally destabilizing. According to the official communiqué, the evidence collected during the U.S. search included digital communications and metadata revealing that Harry had knowingly received financial and logistical assistance from a foreign lobbying group with undisclosed ties to adversarial interests. Encrypted messages traced back to entities registered in offshore jurisdictions revealed attempts to influence UK media narratives and gain access to confidential institutional briefings. This crossed a line no palace could ignore. Confidential memos made public. Following the COBR meeting, Princess Anne and Prince William jointly authorized the release of 2 internal memos, previously classified. The first, dated October 19, 2025, warned of unauthorized data access during Harry's visits to UK facilities. The second, dated November 29, detailed a security anomaly involving the disappearance of sensitive briefing drafts. Those drafts were later found embedded on a hard drive recovered during the U.S. search. Cyber breach confirmed. The final blow came from a joint statement issued by GCHQ and the National Cybersecurity Center. It confirmed that a Dubai-based digital firm contracted by Harry's charitable entity had exported and replicated privileged communications, including royal scheduling data, military patronage discussions, and classified institutional planning documents. This was not a leak, it was described as an institutional
closure. It had become a matter of institutional survival. At 11 a.m., a confidential briefing between senior UK national security officials and the royal household triggered an irreversible shift in protocol regarding Prince Harry. The meeting, held inside the Cabinet Office briefing rooms, included the Home Secretary, the Director of GCHQ, the head of MI5, and senior representatives from Royal Household Security. What followed was the formal classification of the California evidence as security relevant and institutionally destabilizing. Foreign access confirmed. According to the official royal communique released later that day, the briefing centered on an FBI evidence bundle consisting of encrypted communications, metadata, offshore financial routing, and sealed testimony obtained under foreign influence regulations. The documents revealed that Prince Harry had knowingly received material assistance, financial and logistical, from a foreign lobbying group with undisclosed ties to interests considered adversarial to the United Kingdom. Further analysis showed that entities registered in offshore jurisdictions were being used to shape UK media narratives and obtain indirect access to confidential briefings involving veterans affairs, ceremonial planning, and UK-US diplomatic coordination. This was not speculation, it was documented, and it forced the palace to act without delay. Internal warnings released. Within hours of the COBR briefing, Princess Anne and Prince William jointly authorized the public release of two internal palace memoranda, both previously classified. The first memo, dated October 19, 2025, warned of Prince Harry's continued use of unauthorized data access protocols during visits to UK facilities under the pretext of Foundation business. The second memo, dated November 29th, documented a serious security anomaly: the disappearance of two briefing drafts connected to King Charles's New Year transition planning. Those drafts were later discovered embedded inside a hidden partition on a digital drive recovered from the Montecito residence. At that point, the internal conclusion was unavoidable. This was no longer negligence, it was systemic risk. Cyber breach declared. Later that afternoon, Lord Chamberlain Rupert Safford delivered a formal briefing confirming that Prince Harry's charitable entity had contracted a Dubai-based digital services firm under a non-disclosure agreement. Forensic analysis conducted by British and American cyber specialists revealed that the firm had replicated and cross-indexed privileged communications, including royal scheduling data, military patronage negotiations, and classified institutional planning. According to the joint statement issued by GCHQ and the National Cybersecurity Center, the breach amounted to an institutional compromise of sovereign planning infrastructure. This crossed the final red line. Formal disassociation. At 12 noon, Prince William filed a formal declaration of legal disassociation from his brother. The filing, submitted to the Royal Household Legal Affairs Registry, revoked all remaining informal accords relating to shared representation, security coordination, ceremonial crossover, and access to royal military funds. A public version of the declaration released later that afternoon stated, "Effective immediately, the Prince of Wales shall no longer maintain any joint, charitable, ceremonial, or logistical association with Prince Henry Charles Albert David." There would be no reversal. An ancient clause invoked. In parallel, Princess Anne executed Clause 17 of the Royal Institutional Discipline Charter, a provision last invoked in 1972. The execution was recorded through a registered institutional writ, signed by Anne and witnessed by senior Privy Council officers. For the first time in decades, the monarchy had invoked its most severe internal safeguard: transparency, not secrecy. To preempt accusations of concealment or internal protection, Buckingham Palace issued a media transparency directive. Under the protocol, all institutional steps, including the King's title stripping order, were made accessible to accredited press outlets, with redactions limited strictly to active security matters. The directive stated, "The British people deserve clarity, not choreography." It marked a permanent shift toward open governance. The dossier that ended it. By dawn of February 5th, a second declaration was issued, co-signed by Princess Anne and Prince William. Attached was the California Compromise dossier, detailing 42 separate findings from the FBI operation. Each entry was time-stamped and supported by financial ledgers, metadata trails, emails, and surveillance transcripts. Then came Section 7B, Foreign Entity Access via Private Domestic Royal Assets. The documents revealed that Prince Harry had knowingly received third-party access to a secured archive previously hosted within palace infrastructure. That archive had been migrated to a California server under a commercial entity linked to Meghan Markle. Among the exposed materials were military routing schedules, cybersecurity protocols, and archived correspondence dating back to Queen Elizabeth II's Commonwealth transition period. A senior royal aide later described it anonymously. This wasn't betrayal, it was a cathedral built on stolen keys. The final motion. While King Charles withdrew to Sandringham's chapel that morning, Princess Anne convened an emergency session of the Royal Contingency Committee at St. James's Palace. There, she presented a motion of preservation invoking Section 12 of the Sovereign Safeguard Protocol, allowing the immediate digital and ceremonial erasure of rogue bloodline claims. Prince William seconded the motion without hesitation. "My loyalty is to duty, not DNA," he said, according to those present. The motion passed unanimously. The Order of Erasure. That evening, King Charles approved the Order of Erasure. The decree permanently removed Prince Harry's royal styling, revoked his lineal coat of arms, and banned the use of Sussex branding in any commercial or digital context under international intellectual property law. The final line read, "By command of the Crown, the line that turned against the house shall hold no title, no token, and no shield." The doors closed. By February 7th, all royal registers were updated. Prince Harry no longer existed within the Crown's institutional record. The gates of the House of Windsor were closed, and the message was unmistakable. The monarchy may forgive, but it will not be fooled again.